I am Chris Lewis, your CAW heavyweight champion, undefeated for over a year, and not because of COVID, but because everybody's scared of me. Now you're watching Wrestle Geeks Recap. Like, subscribe, or I'm gonna come down there and slap the stupid off your face.
Welcome everybody to Wrestle Geeks Recaps for AEW Dynamite. We are recapping the March 31st episode of Dynamite. I am your host from the Maritimes of Canada, the Geek Trevor Firth, and today I am joined by Pennsylvania independent wrestler Joey Rackless.
It is the man of the 90s telling you to stick in the Matrix, watch a little Neo, and then chillax and listen to the soothing sounds of Britney Spears. It's so hard to try to think of two 90s things. I'm trying to make it like completely opposing things. But nice to be with you again there, my friend.
Yeah, man. So I'm just going to start off right at the beginning. You got your own thing going on with WWE coverage. So I'm just going to let you shout out right away and plug it away.
Yeah, you can look up my podcast, which is WWE exclusive only. So if you're missing out on WWE and you want to know what's going on, but you don't want to have to watch the shows, which I highly recommend because they're terrible and insulting to your intelligence, I'm here to tell you what's kind of going on and what they should be doing better and what they're not doing properly. So you can check this out on Spotify. You can check this out on iTunes. Just type in DWB podcast. That is DWB podcast. And my podcast will show up and you can listen to the episodes. Now, I will confess, the last couple weeks, I have not gotten around to SmackDown. Listen, I work early Saturday morning. I don't know what to tell you. If I get to it, I get to it. But just about every week, I'm always going to get Raw and I'm always going to get SmackDown. I'm sorry, NXT. SmackDown's kind of like one of those things where it goes off at like 10 o'clock in the morning. I got to get up at like 6 o'clock the next day. So it's rough for me. But yeah. I will try to do better about that. I apologize.
Well, man, thank you for having your intelligence insulted for me so I don't have to watch it.
It's so bad. The build for WrestleMania has been very, very frustrating.
Everything I've heard has literally made me want to have an aneurysm, so I just stopped paying attention.
Basically, the main story on Raw is Lashley put out a hit on Drew McIntyre, and basically no babyface has enough balls to step up to him. And then to make matters worse, we're really gonna be really undefined exactly how they're going to go ahead and try to take that bounty and successfully complete that bounty. So yeah, it's just a very confusing, convoluted story, and it's not building the main event, at least one of them, very well. And then you have the whole mess of the triple threat match on SmackDown.
Oh God, I can only imagine. I will say, NXT, everybody's getting hyped about Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, and I'm just I watched that in ROH and in Wrestle Kingdom the same year.
I'm still excited for it, dude.
It's gonna be good, but
yeah.
People who are freaking the hell out, I'm like, guys, it's not like if this has never been done before. They've done this program all around the place. This used to be how they made their money.
So what was your two things from Dark and Elevation?
So on Elevation, first of all, there was a Rising Star segment with Bear Country, and I'm really liking the Rising Star segments. They're nice little vignettes and montages that let you get to know these people, actually get to know these people, lets them talk. And Bear Country is just explaining what kind of tag team wrestling they grew up on, where they came from, how when pandemic hit, they were getting ready to just hang up their boots and be done with wrestling, and then they got the call from AEW, and they're the reason why they're still wrestling now. If it wasn't for AEW, they wouldn't be wrestling. Most likely.
That's interesting. Well, it always makes me nervous, because now they had their big break. Like, I mean, you were thinking about retiring, but like, I guess you could always put that off and try to see like where that goes.
Well,
But
they're still young guys, so mostly it's just like, they got to a point where it's like they felt like they had accomplished almost everything they could on the indies, and they were like, I don't know if we can really keep this going. And then the pandemic hit, and they kind of took it as a sign. You know what I mean? To like,
oh,
well,
okay.
maybe we should just hang up our boots, be done with it, and just go off and get real jobs for the rest of our lives. You know what I mean?
I
That kind
forget that nobody else is as stupid as I am and thought, great, perfect time to get back into the wrestling business.
of. I mean, a lot of people thought, great, perfect time to get in shape for the wrestling business, but nobody actually yeah. Not many people had your mentality on that one.
So, what was there anything on Dark that caught your eye?
Well, also there was the Frankie Kazarian Danny Limelight match on Elevation that was really good. The one where Christian Cage came out to watch, basically.
You
So
know
it was
what?
just,
My thoughts on Limelight is like terrific, like in ring, but man, he's missing something. For me, he feels flat. Like I feel like he has the same problems Scorpio used to have, where like, yeah, you're athletic or whatever, but there's nothing about you that makes me interested. And that may not be fair because I've only seen him like a handful of times on Dynamite. I don't go out of my way to watch
okay.
anything on Dark. I'm sorry.
Well,
I can't do it.
he's part of New Japan Strong's roster as well, and he's a member of Team Filthy on New Japan Strong, alongside Tom Lawler, J.R. Kratos, and Dickinson.
Okay. Well, I don't
So
watch that either.
no, I've seen him as a heel,
Yeah.
and much better, and he does good some good promo work, like when it comes to heel.
I think you know what I'm starting to have this theory, right? It's a guy who's been around the business for at least 10 years. There's a certain type that tries to be a babyface, which is actually harder to do.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's just much easier to be a heel. And sometimes like fighting upstream isn't the best way to go, and it's just easier just to go heel because I think it lets a lot more show. Like especially nowadays, like in the modern era, it's very hard to be a babyface. Like what is a babyface like today? Like what will people cheer for? What will people boo the other people for? Like back in the day, it was a lot easier because like you just do baby face things. Like I mean, look at Hulk Hogan, look at Macho Man, like when he was a baby face. Look at Ultimate Warrior. Like there's certain things that they all did to make them a babyface. But then you have like the '90s, which complicated matters. Like Stone Cold was a heel, but he got babyface reactions, and that kind of started to screw with things. And now it's kind of like now it's somewhere in between those two kind of things, and so it's not easy to figure out. Like,
Okay, you're an old school guy, so you want to hate me a little bit? Here, listen to this. I believe your roster should only be about 30% pures. So pure babyface, pure heels. Only about 30% of in modern day wrestling, only about 30% of your roster should be that. The other 70% of your roster should be varying shades of gray. People who are still discovering who they are, people who are in flux, people who know who they are, know their limits. I truly get into characters when they're being characters and not when they're like, oh, I have to be the babyface for this match. No, be true to your character and be consistent with your character. That's what I care about as a fan.
Yeah.
That's how I try to
AEW's. I think that's AEW's approach sometimes.
It is.
Because they kind of flow from one to the other. Yeah, it drives me bonkers, but that's because I'm an old man.
They don't do it as well as I'd like them to, but they're attempting it, and most people don't even try it, so it's a learning process.
Well, I mean, I don't hate you. I will chop you a few times, but
But on Dark, the match I wanted to bring up was a 6-woman tag match between Big Swole, Red Velvet, and Kylene King versus Ashley Vox and Delmy Exo, who just made her AEW debut on this episode, with Vert Vixen. So we now have the Sea Stars. Like both members of the Sea Stars are officially in AEW, And they're a great tag team on the women's tag team on the indies, and there's not enough actual legitimate dedicated women's tag teams out there. So this is good for me, period. Like the match was fun.
Kind of makes you wonder why they didn't sign with WWE since they have the belts already. Kind of, and they need female tag teams.
Because in WWE there are only 4 top spots for women.
That's true.
Well, AEW doesn't have the best women's division, but they haven't. We don't know what their ceiling is for it yet because they haven't reached it yet.
I would say AEW doesn't have any top spots really. It's just kind of like more of like we could try to highlight different people at different times. Yes. They haven't quite figured out the formula of like really like having like, okay, like back in the 80s, you had like kind of like a crew of people who about 8 people you could reasonably kind of like picture around the world title. You had about 8 people you could kind of picture being around the Intercontinental title, and that kind of carried all the way through like to like the PG area. Then it kind of like died down for a while where there's like only like a handful of both, and then like nowadays, like I think you could kind of realistically build people to about 8 for both, but they don't know how to book anymore, so they don't do that.
Booking is trickier now, that's for sure. Like right now is really hard to really get what the majority of your fan base wants while still growing your fan base. It's really difficult. I feel like it's been hard. It's harder now than it's ever been.
Well, like I feel like I would say the thing that other bookers had an advantage where modern bookers have a disadvantage is that people are pre-built to recognize patterns.
Yeah.
And so if you try to book too old school, they're going to be like 10 steps ahead of your plans, which I'm willing to admit that pretty much all of my ideas would be really obvious. I would need somebody who kind of thinks outside the box to kind of throw a few spices in there. Otherwise, people would just be like, yeah, we know where you're going, dude. Like, we can see this like coming a mile away. Like, so yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Yeah. But Dynamite was an interesting one this week.
It was pretty good overall. I enjoyed it. There are a couple low moments, but we'll go right in with the first match of the night: Christian Cage versus Frank Kazarian. And I think starting with this was a good idea. They didn't tease us halfway through the episode. You know what I mean? They didn't do any they're just like, here we go, here's the match. Loved it. Plus, this was an over 15-minute match. This is what Christian meant by outwork everybody. He can still go. It wasn't like the biggest, flashiest, most like explosive match on his part. I think because Kazarian did most of the work, very obviously, did a lot of the heavy lifting. But Christian in my opinion, took some bumps that were pretty nasty looking, especially the tumble from the top rope to the outside of the ring. It looked pretty bad. It was okay. When they did the replay, I saw the form, and in a perfect form, he went down exactly how he should. But it's still, when a guy's had neck surgery like that, you still cringe when you see that kind of stuff, right? So, but
I thought it was a great match. I thought this was a perfect match for Christian Cage to come out because it was everything opposite of AEW. This was pretty much a WWE type match, just with given more time. I did notice Cage had some cardio issues. You would only be able to perceive this if you've been in the ring, just like how his stomach was moving and stuff like that, and just how much he was sweating. But dude's not been in the ring for 7 years. I don't care how much ring work you're doing; it doesn't ever equal a match. So,
same, yeah.
Once he has a couple months of matches in, that's gonna go away. But I like the psychology of this matchup. They kind of started on the ground. They kind of started slow. And then they built to the big flashy stuff. I do need to say that Kazarian, I love you, brother, but you got to stop doing the Spanish fly. You cannot land it. You can't land it anymore, dude.
No, and to be honest, it's always been that one move in his repertoire that I just found has like just doesn't fit.
I one I was the one the one guy from the trios match won it with last week.
Yeah, Laredo Kid.
Yeah, but then other people kick out of it. Like that's a bad move to pick to be like kind of like a signature or a finisher, because so many people kick out of it. It really doesn't mean anything. I will give props to Krista Cage for being willing to do that, because it's not something WWE would usually kind of be like, yeah, go ahead, go ahead and do that. So like he definitely, I think for me, like I enjoyed this match on a couple different levels. Like strictly as a fan, I like the story, and I like the fact that they went outside the norm of like an AEW match. And I think like a lot of that was Christian Cage saying, "Hey guys, you can do this another way," which is I think what he brings to the table. I
Um,
did like the couple times where they did pick like a spot to kind of show that he can take some stuff.
oh yeah, I do like. There's like one or two moments where like they almost. I was like, Frankie's not actually gonna win this. No way. You know what I mean? Like there's one or two moments in this match where like they almost got me. I'm like, no, Frankie's not winning this. Come on, guys. But that's good. If you can get me to do that even for a second, then you know there's definitely some casual viewers who you're definitely tricking. Um, but then we go into Darby and Sting vignette, which this is a fine little vignette calling out Matt Hardy.
I actually really loved this promo. Like
yeah, it was.
I don't know what it was. I can't explain to you like what it was, but no lie, it's been a week almost, and I still think about this promo.
There
And
you go.
it's not really necessarily all the promo. It's kind of the look, the feel, the imagery has been stuck in my head for a while. And so whatever he did here, it works for me. Like, and like a lot of this it would be credited to the production team.
You
I
know,
will say that, and when I watched this initially, I was kind of like, that was really interesting. That was kind of
mm,
you know, I kind of heard a lot of other people say it was just normal Darby stuff, but I felt like this was a little bit different. This had like a little bit of a different feel. This felt like edgier. It felt more natural to the character.
I felt like he
Even,
was tapping into a bit of Matt Hardy on purpose.
yeah, I
And
don't know what it was, but like there was something about this that was magic. And all I could say is that like we're recording this Monday night, and I'm still thinking about that promo. So that means they did something right. If I'm still kind of like visualizing the imagery that they utilized in this promo.
honestly, the thumbnail for this video is either going to be the title in black and white at the end, or it's going to the TNT title in black and white at the end of that vignette, or it's going to be Sue it or thumbs up. I'm not sure which one yet. um, but man, this no, I agree. Darby's he's a genius. Like singing, he went to film school. Like he's the one producing and editing not editing, but he's the one producing and directing these. So it's really cool. It's trippy. We get before the next match, we get a little Jade Cargill promo where she's just calling out Red Velvet, saying, you know, she's that bitch.
Yeah, this was a weird take because three straight swear words back to back to back. You had Darby drop one, you had Jade drop one, and then you had a little bit later in the Pinnacle segment, they dropped one.
Yeah.
So
It's either you don't do any or you do so many because TV is weird.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how all that works. All I know is that it's. I think it's interesting that AEW started to kind of lean into more of a TV 14 kind of feel. Then like not too far behind that, like WWE started to utilize like some foul language and stuff like that, some more risque like segments and stuff.
Yeah,
So
they're trying to steal the viewers back.
I'm just saying, I just think it's interesting because WWE's been doing like the bland PG era for like 20 years now.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, all of a sudden they decided to do something different. And it just so happens to be after another company does different. I mean, so I'm not surprised because that's what they did with WCW. WCW like did like the risque stuff, and then like WWE's like, oh yeah, well we could do that a lot riskier. We could push it farther, and then they won the Monday Night Raw. So
Yeah. Next we get the exhibition match with special guest referee Arn Anderson versus Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall. And this is just, the match itself is a lot of like, Cody lets go and doesn't put him in the figure four. Cody lets go, doesn't actually hit him with the crossroads. You know, like Cody has a bunch of opportunities where he could beat QT and he just doesn't take them. Right? And QT gets more and more frustrated, more and more insulted. Eventually, he rolls back in the ring and he just decks Arn Anderson. And when he storms off, he starts walking up the ramp, and then 3 members of the Nightmare family start attacking everybody else. So we have Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, and Anthony Ogogo, which Anthony Ogogo very much surprised me. I'll finish explaining this, going over the segment, and then I'll explain why, but they take out the rest of the Nightmare family. QT looks at first surprised or confused. I'm not sure. And then he just takes control of it instantly. So they take out Lee Johnson on the ramp. Nick Comoroto picks up the steps, puts them on top of the ramp, and then they Dustin gets pile drivered onto the steps. And that was a nasty looking spot. It was good, great visual. They bring out Cody. They get ready to like take out Cody as well. They hit him with a chair, all that stuff. And Red Velvet comes out to make the save. And I'm sitting here going, okay, well, everything she's saying and everything, I'm like, this is so scripted that she should be Brandy. It's painful. I really don't like that. But she convinces them to walk away. Then Jade Cargill kicks her ass in a little interview segment after, and she's like, why did you defend Cody? He's my tag partner. Jade Cargill kicks her ass. Yay! But when it comes to, QT Marshall, it has his own version of the Nightmare family. Totally called it that he was going to do that. That they were going to break it apart and he was just going to have his own version of the Nightmare family. I knew Nick Comoroto was going to be with him as well. Aaron Solo did not expect. Anthony Ogogo, like, here's why this guy surprised me. Anthony Ogogo has not wrestled yet in AEW. He's been on commentary on Dark as the third man for certain matches. And a lot of it, now that I think about it, it's pretty much all Nightmare Family related matches. Because he trains with them, and he's an Olympic boxer, and he's actually really good on commentary, I will admit. But I didn't expect to see it. And you don't see him often on screen. So every time I've seen him on screen, he's in his suit, he's sitting at the table, he's sitting with Excalibur and Taz. I didn't realize how big he is. You know what I mean? Like, once you see him in ring, and like he takes off the jacket, and he starts unbuttoning the shirt to get ready to start beating on Cody. I'm like, damn, he's way bigger than I thought he was. Like, I knew he was big, but he's way bigger than I thought he was. But I like this. They made me care. They made me care about QT. At least a little bit.
This was one of those segments that made me want to headbutt the wall.
You hated it?
I hated it, dude. I know they're trying hard, but like, dude, like it's one of those things. Like the harder they try, the more I want to reject this. Like I know this is a comparison that AEW fans are gonna go absolutely bonkers. So I apologize for Trevor because the show's gonna lose some popularity on with this one. But dude, this just reminds me of John Cena and Roman Reigns. Like shoving it down our throats when we don't want it, and they're doing the same thing with this turn. I don't care, And like the most frustrating part for me is that they have a segment later in the show that to me needed this kind of standalone heat, and for them to try to use that same formula for a storyline that doesn't have any oomph to it to try to light a fire, like came off as like really lame. Color came off like it's desperate. Like they're trying hard, but I think there's an element in me that makes me want to reject it all the more. And I know that sounds like really like um I'm not sure what you would say, but I know this doesn't sound great of me, but it's just that's just how I feel. And like, dude, like, why should I care that these people that I don't know attack Cody? Why should and at this point, like, as a AEW fan, like, I'm starting to get concerned about Cody Rhodes at this point because it's not great that you have a babyface who every one of his friends eventually stabs him in the back.
Because he's not a babyface.
You're an idiot, dude. Like when are you gonna learn that nobody in your camp is actually by your side?
Yeah.
Like, and that's my biggest complaint. Like, you hit the nail on the head. My biggest complaint, and in this storyline, okay, if we're all gonna pretend like for a second that like Rob doesn't think like a wrestler, and so like I'm made to think babyface heel, like that's we were strictly thinking this as characters alone.
Yeah.
QT's the babyface and Cody's the heel.
Yep. I agree with you.
Okay, because here QT got snubbed, nobody cares. And so he does like this desperate plea to like try to get like some attention. He wrestles a match with Cody, and Cody never takes him seriously, thus negating his whole purpose, which is to try to earn some legitimacy in Cody's eyes. He's literally being talked down to, and he got thrown to the outside, and so he's helping them in. And he knows like Cody's exposing himself like in a way he would not do with anybody else. And that's when he punches Arn in the face. Like, Cody's the heel. Like, Cody, like, I dislike Cody more than I dislike QT. And I don't think that's what they're trying to accomplish at all.
Yeah, they're not. They're overestimating Cody's babyface appeal, in my opinion. But like, here's my thing. This should have been done on Dark Elevation. If this would have been done on Dark Elevation, this would have had more impact.
Well, yeah, because it gets overshadowed by a segment later that's pretty much the same segment.
But even if we didn't have that segment later on, this segment, to me, feels like it should have been like the main event of Dark Elevation or like the halfway point of Dark Elevation, because then you're giving me a reason to go watch that show or telling me there's a reason to watch that show when you do stuff like that over there.
I also think part of my disliking I'm not going to beat this too much longer, but just hear me out on this. Part of me rejecting this segment is also QT's weird behavioral mannerisms during this whole thing. Is he surprised? Yeah. Is he regretful? Is he leading the thing the whole time? Because like depending on which part you're looking at during this attack, he's all three. And I'm sorry, like maybe this is just the old school fan in me, but like that's no narrative coherence whatsoever. Like, okay, you could look kind of like faux, like sad or so like surprised, but then you got to change your whole entire face and be like, I planned this from the get-go. But I didn't feel that at all. I felt like more like he didn't know how to feel and just kind of got carried away by the emotions of it all. Like that's what I got from it, and I don't think that's what they're trying to do. So I don't want to beat this segment up more than it does. It didn't work for me, but like that, I would say out of everything, like I'm trying to understand this QT character, and the segment didn't help me understand the character at all.
Honestly, I'm just excited about the young guys. More than anything, I'm excited about the young guys. I'm excited these guys get a reason to be on screen and get an opportunity to show people what they can do, because that's fun.
See, I've heard a lot of people say that, and I don't want to stay here too long because I know we got to get through this. But I don't buy that because, dude, I'm sorry, the roster's too big as it is. I don't think you have enough time to give these guys.
That's true.
Like, who are you gonna bump off of Dynamite to give these guys a shine? Who? Yeah. There's so many guys ahead of these guys. Like, there's just no way.
That's why I should have been on Elevation. So next we get a promo from Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, revealing that they're going to be a tag team. Their first match is on Dark Elevation. So
and everything that I've been like saying about Scorpio Sky got demolished in like 10 seconds.
Yep. I mean,
I'm sorry. Like, listen, I get Ethan Page as a tag team wrestler. I get Scorpio as a tag team wrestler. But I wanted to see him like be on his own and like go for the title. Like, even if he doesn't go back for the TNT title, why not try to build him up for a title shot for eventually whoever beats Omega? Like, or how about this? How about like down the road, like he out of frustration, he like starts beating people on Elevation. He says, "Where's my TNT rematch? Where's my TNT rematch?" And go back to it. Why? It's like, dude, like they gave him like one shine and then just throw him away. Like, dude, like at this point, I've given up on them, like putting anything behind Scorpio because this was their moment and they didn't do it.
Here's what I'm hoping they're going to do with it. They're probably not, but here's what I'm hoping they're going to do with it. They're doing this to establish that Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky have a working relationship and that they're willing to tag together when needed. But they're not actually going for the tag belts or anything like that. They're just two singles guys who have each other's backs and will cover each other when needed. That I'm fine with. And I'm really hoping that's what they're going with. Because
they've already announced a tag team match with them, too.
Which is fine. Like I said, establish them as buddies that have each other's backs and are willing to tag. But that's it. Move on from it very quickly. Don't make them an actual tag team going for the tag team titles.
So more of like kind of like how everybody has to have like kind of like a buddy it's a buddy system in AEW. There's a bunch of
pretty much
mini stables walking around. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with
it. I'd be better okay with that, but I'd rather to me it just doesn't fit Scorpio Sky's character though. Like his whole point is like now he's the lone wolf who's kind of like fighting against these preconceived notions of himself. Why would he team up with somebody who's all about his ego? Like it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense for Ethan Page either. It doesn't make sense for Ethan Page either. Even though Ethan Page is a great tag team wrestler, he had a reason to tag with Josh. He's got no reason to tag with Scorpio Sky. Like there's no existing relationship. There's nothing there. There's no reason for them to be a tag team other than people put them together. So
for people who tune in to our little show here, you know how excited I was? Yeah, they killed it.
Yep. We also got, I'm not even going to talk about it. It was a bad Moxley promo. Let's just move on. It was another terrible Moxley promo at this point.
It basically says everything pisses him off, basically.
Yep. Pretty much. Match 2, John Moxley versus Cesar Bononi. We got JD Drake and Ryan Nemeth at ringside. They interfere every once in a while. Bononi gets some really nice offense, gets to show what he can do a little bit more, and we know it. We can see it. He's gonna be a big deal one day. The finish was nice too. Bononi goes for a pump handle, lifts Mox, and Mox just like turns it into a sleeper hold.
Rear naked choke.
Transition. Rear naked choke. Yeah, it was a really nice transition. Well done.
I thought I know this is a stupid thing to bring up, but Bononi's sell of the rear naked choke was phenomenal.
It was. I like that kind of stuff. I
believe that he was choked out. Like, I believe, I've watched UFC, so I know what, happens to somebody who gets the rear naked choke. You go into night-night. Like, that's just, very few people have ever reversed out of a rear naked choke. I could think of, I watched it for almost 3 years. I can remember, maybe, twice somebody getting out of a rear naked choke. So, usually if the rear naked choke is applied, you're going to sleep. Yeah. And, Bononi, that's kind of basically what a lot of people who go to sleep in the rear naked choke end up looking like. They look like a goof.
Yeah. When it came to this match, though, they gave Moxley a hard time being two guys at ringside. Gave Bononi some openings. He was able to dominate for a while. Good match overall. Good little match to make Bononi look good. and make him work with a big name guy. You know what I mean?
But still, it was a squash. Like
it was still squash. Yeah.
It was just more of that modern TV squash nowadays.
Next, we got a promo with Team Taz. And this is meh. We just get more like, them talking about everything is fine, and then Ricky Starks starts like goading Brian Cage.
Yeah.
And Brian Cage is like, well, if you would have tagged me earlier on our dark match, then we would have won earlier.
I don't know. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just confused as to where it came from. Like, why in this tension period with Team Taz is Ricky Starks coming off more like effeminate, like in his hands and stuff like that?
He always has. He's always been very flamboyant.
Really? Because like in the previous things that they've shown him in and stuff like that, I've never seen that. And then all of a sudden, it's like really pronounced.
Anything I've seen of him before joining Team Taz, yeah, he's very flamboyant.
Oh, okay. So let
me tell you, that's his natural persona. That's his natural personality coming out a little bit more.
Okay,
on his character.
I'm fine with it, but it was just like for somebody who kind of had an idea of what the character was, it was more of I was like, is this a new part of the character? Like, is this something? But apparently it's more of no, that was just kind of pushed to the side a little bit while they were building up the street fight.
Yeah,
because I liked the intense thing, and so I was kind of a little concerned about that. But I don't like this whole storyline. I don't.
I felt like Hook and Will Hobbs. Hook is on his phone. Will Hobbs is just sitting there completely disinterested, bored, falling asleep.
Okay, in reality, right? Why wouldn't those two be upset at Brian?
They don't care.
Why?
They find shit between Starks and Brian Cage. They don't care that Brian Cage was like, Sting, you still got it. They don't care. Ricky Starks is making a big hoo-ha out of it for some reason, and they just look like they're fed up with it.
But I'm not getting that. I get more we don't care, but that I don't think it's great that there's people on screen having the same emotion that I have.
Exactly. It's not good. Anyway, I hope they do something with this quick, pull the trigger, because oh my god, don't drag this out any longer, please. I'm getting really bored with it. Next we get one of the best segments of the entire night, right? Has to be. We get the MJF gifting Pinnacle their whatever their gift was supposed to be. So they get a personal stylist, and they're supposed to get a interior decorator. And then when he opens the little back door, it leads to the bathroom, I believe.
Yeah, bathroom.
You see, I love how they're all in that stereotypical cartoon pose. Jericho's already got his hand cracking his knuckles, ready to go, just staring at MJF. You got Sammy in the back, and you got Santana and Ortiz just ready to go. And MJF just closes the door, turns around. Okay, we gotta get out of here. Runs towards the other door, and Hager's there instead. It is such a cartoony moment. It's so good. I enjoyed it. I love the campy stupidness. And
this brawl was epic, dude.
It really was.
And I like the way that they clearly shot the separate things up, and they kind of edited them together.
Yes,
which I liked, because it made because they could cut and stuff like that. It could kind of seem a lot more chaotic than maybe if you shot this on one camera might necessarily feel. And plus, you get to see a little bit more defined of what's happening. Sammy Guevara hit an interesting finisher on Steven. Sean Spears, sorry. And then slammed his head in the door. I didn't like what they did to Cash, where they just kind of threw him in an ice bath. I don't know what happened to Scott. I'm always going to call him Scott Dawson because I can't remember his new name. But whatever happened to him, he got busted open pretty bad.
Busted open, yeah.
He was bleeding pretty profusely, and then MJF he finally got his comeuppance. Like he got beat down pretty good, and like I love like the ending of this segment where they're kind of like they throw him out the door like he's used garbage, and he's
Yep.
like wet, he's covered, and he did such a beautiful sell of like it really definitely, if you're an Inner Circle fan, you felt like you got your reward of seeing like him get his like up his comeuppance, and because like it just his facial expressions and stuff like that as he's beaten down and stuff like that, that was awesome. But my complaint here is should be pretty obvious. We just saw a beatdown,
Yeah.
and so in my opinion, that kind of stole some of the moment from this. Not only that, but okay, let's say you could maybe make a category distinction between the two. You forgot the other one that had just happened because this is way more interesting. This is way more of like the most important storyline in AEW, in my opinion. We found out that they disappeared for 3 weeks. They came back and they got their beatdown back. So we have one beatdown each. So, it's theoretically, as far as the storyline, they're even.
Yeah.
Even Steven. And Inner Circle got their locker room back. But this was just awesome. It's something I think they put up on their social media, like just the clip of this fight. Go out of your way to see it because it was an awesome moment.
It's so good.
So, I guess, by the way, I guess what we have here is we have two things to try to keep in mind. We have Double or Nothing coming up in May.
Yep.
But it was announced sometime during this show that there's a what is it? House Always Wins. I don't know what that is.
Oh, I was going to talk about that at the end of the show, actually.
Okay, but
so I will bring it up later.
I don't know whether or not that's a fifth pay-per-view or if that's like a special show on Dynamite. But
You're going to be disappointed.
Okay.
Lower your expectations. But I'll bring it up at the end of the show.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I don't know exactly where they're going with this. Like, I mean, obviously, it's the most important thing. Like, I'm sorry, this overshadows World Champion. This overshadows TNT. For me, I'm tuning in every week to see like what's next, and they got me on this thing. They got me excited about this thing. They got me intrigued to see where they go. The question is, now that you've done 2 beatdowns, where is there to go to get you the time you need to get to May? Because here's what I'm thinking. Pinnacle disappear. Maybe not for 3 weeks, because then they got beat up. But I think 3 weeks might be a little too much. You might lose a little momentum. But it wouldn't surprise me if they disappear from TV for at least 2 weeks.
That makes sense to me.
But I don't think they can do another beatdown. Maybe what they can do would be like having Inner Circle come out for like some kind of show or something like that, and a promo or something like that, and have Pinnacle come out and have the whole locker room empty out and keep these two separated and be like, not here. We'll find a way for you guys to do something, against each other, but not here, not now. They got to find something, because I don't think you can really give away another brawl, because you got to save something for the inevitable War Games like match.
Yes. Randomly just popped in my head. What would you think about the idea of eventually they do something very New Japan style, where they have an episode of Dynamite where every match on the card is literally Pinnacle versus Inner Circle. So you'd have Sammy versus Shawn Spears. You would have Proud and Powerful versus FTR. You'd have, you do Wardlow versus Hager, and it ends at the end of the night with main eventing Jericho versus MJF. And you actually tally up which faction gets the most wins. Or something like that. New Japan does that kind of stuff to end major feuds between factions, because they have giant factions. So
my
But
only my only thing with that is like, what do you do with everybody else?
yeah,
Like like like
yeah.
like are they just sidelined for that show? Do we like are they there, or is these two teams the only people there? How would
Uh,
we explain
they're
why
the only.
Pinnacle's not allowed to interfere? Like there's like a lot to it. I mean, I'd be intrigued if they did it well enough, but like, man, I just don't think they have the show to do it. Like, besides, we got to try to get to May, right? And it's only April 5th right
Oh
now.
yeah, yeah.
So why not, instead of doing it like all one night, why not have like a
Oh no,
kind of
this
like
would be
a
like
mini tournament,
this would be down the line.
like
This would be
Sammy
way.
Guevara versus Hager, Wardlow versus somebody, and you kind of slowly rotate through the matchups.
Oh, you could totally do it that way too, which is also very New Japan. But that's what I'm saying. New Japan does all those little rotations and all those little different matchups, and then they take the feuds that are the most popular, and they do a giant blow-off show between the two factions.
Yeah.
But this is over the course of like 2 years in New Japan, because New
Okay.
Japan does the long con every time.
Either
um,
either
anyway,
either way, the mission of this segment was to get me more excited about this storyline. The mission was accomplished.
yeah,
The Bay Faces look strong. I think their beatdown was every bit is brutal, maybe even a little bit more so.
I think a bit more so.
and and so I definitely hope that Pinnacle will be off TV for at least a week or two, and then we'll have to see like how this plays out, because in my mind, they got to do something about like try to de-escalate the war, right? Like, okay, if we're thinking like it's a shoot, right? Would you really want this kind of chaos? I mean, I get it. Like, AEW's chaos every week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on a rant about that later, but theoretically, like, you don't really want like full brawls like this in the like not in the ring. Like, you kind of frown upon this. So
Yes.
like, is there gonna be some kind of like they go away for 2 weeks and then when they come back, like maybe there's like a temporary truce segment and then like everything goes like haywire. I don't know, but like I'm
We'll
really
see.
really intrigued to see where they go.
So moving on, we get the Young Bucks again being interrupted by Don Callis. And man, I told you these promos were not directed at Nick, they were directed at Matt. Nick's not a promo guy, Nick's not the talker. That's simple. He's not good at it. He's not the leader of the Young Bucks. Matt Jackson is. It's funny to say, but he kind of is. Matt just kind of like always has taken center stage between the two of them when it comes to the mic. But this promo really was just like Don Callis looking at them like, do you have anything left inside? Like you're just dead inside, right? You're a shell of your former self. There's nothing left. Being a CEO, being like still wrestling, running this whole thing, doing everything is essentially just drained everything out of you. You don't have like you're not the vicious Young Bucks that you were not even that long ago. I remember watching Wrestle Kingdom in like 2017, and they walked into Wrestle Kingdom with the PWG tag team titles, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight titles, the ROH tag team titles. Like that's and they had their own. Of course, they had their white super kick party belts just for the hell of it because that was the joke that they were walking around with 4 belts. But you know what I mean? Like that's no joke. That's an accomplishment to walk into Wrestle Kingdom with all of those titles. Like companies trust you. Companies have you've put in the work. You know what I mean? Like so, and they're not those. But from a kayfabe standpoint, it's because you're vicious, you're killer, you have that aspect. You'll do anything it takes. They don't have that anymore. Callis is right. Callis goes so far as to slap Matt in the face to try and get something out of him. Nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
I wasn't like this wasn't a bad segment. I don't know Like, I know this is just a continuation of will Matt betray his brother kind of thing.
I don't even think it's that. I don't think it's the Matt will betray his brother. I think like just Callis is trying to wedge the Young Bucks and Omega officially apart because that's what he's wanted this whole time. He's pushing the Young Bucks to make a move against Kenny Omega, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, that's an
Because
interesting theory. That's certainly not the theory I've heard the most.
he's
Like,
always been the wedge in between Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Always been that wedge.
now that you said that, it makes a lot more sense than what I've been hearing. So, I have to agree with you on that one. I do think that's probably where they're going, but I don't know. It wasn't bad, but I would have liked something different.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's legitimate or not, but I felt like this was a little samey and didn't quite build the story for me.
Yeah, they didn't need last week's promo segment with Callis and the Bucks if they're going to do this week. That's for sure.
I think what they see this as an escalation because Callis smacked him and got away with it.
Well,
I can see that reasoning.
So this leads into the next match, which is the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid versus Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. Which, hey, nobody called Laredo Kid the AAA Cruiserweight Champion this time. Good job, guys! Leo Rush has only had the belt since February 10th. I don't know if you noticed, but you don't watch Impact, right?
I watch it here and there,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, on a couple of the AEW adverts, like when Tony Khan's making his advertisings for AEW, he called 2 weeks in a row. He called Laredo Kid the AAA Cruiserweight champion.
Yeah, but you got to keep in mind though, in those segments, he's a heel, so he could technically be lying.
Yeah, but then on Dynamite, not this episode, but the episode before it, when they were doing the Cutler and the Young Bucks versus Laredo Kid, commentary straight up said, "Oh, the Lucha Bros are the AAA tag team titles, and Laredo Kid is the current AAA Cruiserweight title." I'm like, no, he's not, Excalibur.
Okay, well then that might be legitimate, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, it happens. I mean, he can't
I was
follow
like,
everything, but yeah, that kind of makes it hard for me to make a counter argument on that one. Then,
yeah, it bugged me.
This was once again, I think, the match of the night.
Yep.
For a lot of people, not for me. I thought the first match of the night was the match of the night for me.
Fair.
There was something about this match that just never got me.
Yeah, I enjoyed the goofiness of the Good Brothers and Omega working together. The triple splash was stupid fun. I laughed. I legitimately laughed for it. Because it's just so. I'm like, yeah, these idiots would do that. But overall, yeah, no, like the stupid comedy bits of the Good Brothers and Omega versus the high flying lucha stuff didn't quite hit the mark for me. But it was good. I still enjoyed it. It was really fun, and I would totally watch it again just for the hell of it. But for me, what's important is what happens after the match, really, and how beat up and how rocked Omega looked.
Yeah,
they really brought Omega, like they beat on Omega bad at some point.
For me, this was one of those matches that my mind wandered, and usually I'm not a guy who wanders very easily. Like, I love wrestling. Okay, I've watched wrestling most of my life. I do it as a hobby, and people think I'm crazy. So I kind of like this thing, and I don't know what it was. I probably owe all six guys an apology, but there was just something missing for me, and I just they never really got me back. Like, I didn't change the channel, but I mean, I could have,
Kind of just zoned out.
I zoned out. Yeah.
That's fair. But after the match, Moxley comes out, pacing back and forth on the ramp for a bit, and then the Young Bucks come out, showing that they have his back. When all three of them walk into the ring, Good Brothers and them walk away, like Good Brothers and Omega take off as fast as they can.
They don't walk away. They do the perfect heel tactic, which is scatter like
Yeah.
roaches in the light. I love it. Cause all right, you gotta kind of have a buy-in of all three people. And Carl, I mean, isn't the smallest guy in the world. Luke's huge, and
Yeah.
Omega's a star. You gotta really be willing to play a role to be willing to look that cowardly. And as a world champion, there's a lot of temptation there to not want to look that way.
Yeah.
But it was really satisfying to kind of see them scatter like that.
There's one more thing I want to bring up. Shivani was gold on commentary. Oh, here are the four of the most disreputable, disgusting, disreputable and terrible men of all of pro wrestling, and unfortunately, one of them is making their way to us. Hi, Dawn.
Yeah, I like their interactions.
Good.
I also like JR with Callis on commentary as well, because Callis has that Paul Heyman quality of annoying him and bringing out Jim Ross's good side. Because Jim Ross will always be the voice of wrestling for me. I will always be a mark for Jim Ross. To say his work at AEW is his best would be a lie. I'll leave it at that. But he there's something about Callis that makes him focus more. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of magic. It was really awesome as well.
Like him.
Yeah,
he legitimately doesn't like Callis, and so it kind of wakes him up.
But for me, I just want to point out that even though Moxley came out and just paced, dude, it was back. I mean, he didn't say one word. He jumped off the screen as a star. Dude, I don't know how to describe it for people.
I hate him in backstage vignettes. He doesn't work in vignettes.
It's a weird phenomenon, but he was a wholly different person the minute he walked out.
He just loves being on an entrance stage or in a ring, and it seems to wake him up. I love it. But
it's such a bizarre thing.
It is really weird. You're right. It is really weird that when he's doing anything like videos or anything backstage, it's there's nothing. If there's no fans, if there's no people, it falls flat.
To me, I think I can see now as a wrestler, right? Vince, from Vince's viewpoint of this guy, of why he didn't work out, because this guy's got to be all in, and he's got to be turned on to be a star. And WWE, the whole point is you can't always be the star. There's going to be times where you got to go down the card, and we're not going to have the end all be all for you. And then you put dumb ideas and coming out in a medical suit and all that stuff. I could definitely see why he eventually was we're not going to resign this guy, and why that guy didn't want to resign with them. I could definitely see it, because when he's not in, when he's not on, he's a wholly different person. But when he decides that he's on and he wants to perform, dude, he stands out, and he is the guy for me on AEW that stands out the most, except for maybe MJF.
Everything you just said about Moxley, it's exactly how I've always felt about Randy Orton. Oddly enough.
Okay.
When Orton wants to, and when Orton's actually when Orton's got it going, Orton's amazing. But when Orton isn't in the mood, it freaking shows.
I see. I know people hate Randy Orton, so I'm gonna piss off a lot of people with this. I think a lot of people just miss a lot of what he brings to the table, because a lot of it nowadays is a lot more subtle. It all works for me, but I understand what he's doing. I'm not pulling out the I'm a wrestler, you're not card, but there's a lot that could be missed if you're not paying attention carefully about his stuff. I will admit though, he can phone it in from time to time in the ring, and that's fair.
In between 2016 to 2018, maybe 2019, early 2019, Randy Orton just wasn't feeling it. That's how I felt about him when I was watching him. I felt like he wasn't feeling it. You know what I mean? But anyway, we're here to talk about AEW. Britt Baker promo. Calling out Thunder Rosa. Telling her, like, her win doesn't count. Her biggest win in the company doesn't count. It was all for nothing. I really liked that. I'm not going to lie. That was fun.
This was a miss for me. I didn't like this. Like,
it was mostly just a Dark Elevation plug more than anything else.
Yeah, but in my mind, the reason why I really didn't like this is they missed their opportunity to capitalize on the momentum. In my mind, she needed a match, and she needed to go over.
Yeah, she needs to wrestle again. We need to see her in ring wrestling in the singles.
And not on Dynamite. I mean, I'm sorry, not on Dark or Elevation. We need to see her on Dynamite.
Yeah. Next match, Nyla Rose and the Bunny versus Ty Conti and Hikaru Shida. And this is completely skippable. It was just not even cookie cutter dull. It was just dull, man.
Bunny won with the down the rabbit hole. I like the name of the move.
It's a good move itself. She executes it well, and I do love the name. But I don't know. This match was just not. It's not about them. It's not about the women in the match. It's about everybody at ringside, and that's what I hate.
Well, that's the problem with trying to do something like this, where there's a group on both sides, and there's like at least 5 people on each side. So, yeah, it's gonna be a cluster. Plus this match had so much to overcome. How long has it been since Bunny's been on TV in the ring? We have no idea how frequently she's been wrestling.
I mean,
on Dark.
But she's been on Dark and Elevation wrestling a little bit here and there.
Like, not as consistently as you need to be sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And so and for me, like, where this whole segment goes haywire is like just the end, like the just goofiness of it all.
You get the big brawl between look, we know AEW loves to end their Dynamites on brawls, and they didn't do it this week, but they had to have it here instead. They had like a big ringside fight, even though they had already had something like that basically twice tonight.
I think it would have been a lot smarter if I was Matt. And you want to make him different. You want to make him stand out. Why not, since his company won, right? Since Bunny won, he walks away. He says, "We'll see you soon."
Yeah.
You keep him guessing. Why attack him right then, right there? Makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And again, listen, I know we've been doing this for a little while, but I gotta say it because it's been on my mind for like a week. So we gotta hit this. Okay, Tony, the brawls gotta stop, dude. There was 3 of them on this episode. And if you watch other episodes of AEW Dark, there will be multiple brawls per episode.
Yeah.
We need to start finding different ways to get the storylines besides brawls. And it's too much. This brawl had no power to it at all because we'd already seen 2 really nasty brawls. And this was tame when compared to that. And then you risk of people getting the 3 confused or forgetting one. And it's really frustrating because I know AEW can be creative, where I wonder sometimes if Vince remembers how to book wrestling. Like, I know Tony Khan can book wrestling. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But it seems like he gets in these patterns sometimes where he struggles to find a way to get to storylines or struggles to know how to continue storylines. And he relies on people attacking people way too much.
Yeah. I can tell you a bit from experience. He talks a lot about like how he used to talk a lot about how he's been booking since he was a kid type thing, fantasy booking things. He's got books upon books upon books. I can tell you from experience, you burn through all of that within a year. And I don't do anywhere near as much as what he books. I had a bunch of ideas that, like, I put to paper and I have wanted to do on shows. And, like, I had a whole year planned out, basically. I do my drafts for almost all my cards. I try to do a whole year ahead. And, yeah, I went through a decent chunk of that notebook fairly quickly. So, he's probably running, like, he needs to rely on other people because he's repeating himself already.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna flip out. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I'm not
Keep
just gonna
going, you can.
rant and raving, but it's something that I'm officially now concerned about.
Yeah.
That now we're heading into what? Approaching by the end of the year, it'll be year 3 on TV.
We're going for, we had the 1 year anniversary in October that just passed.
Okay,
1 year
so
anniversary.
then we'll be approaching like the end of the year 2 then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like, it's just, I feel like if WWE had an episode where there was 3 brawls on the same episode, the entire internet would lose their flipping minds.
They would.
And yet, what worries me is that people aren't at least providing constructive criticism and just kind of going. And I'm not like I'm not here for that. Like, I'm just letting you guys know that as long as Trevor has me, I'm gonna try to be realistic, but I'm never gonna try to just shit on something. I'm always gonna try to say constructive criticism. There's gotta be a different way. I'm sorry. There's gotta be some kind of way of setting these stories up differently than having attacks.
I agree, and you don't have to worry about me being when it comes to that because, like, I'm a massive Impact fan. If you listen to that show, I shit all over Impact whenever it's appropriate. So I can do the same to AEW when it needs it. I'll call anybody out for stuff I would call WWE out for.
So next week we got Omega and the Good Brothers versus Moxley and the Young Bucks. Yep. Money versus Ty Conti. Darby versus JD Drake for the TNT title. I don't know who JD Drake is, but okay. Inner Circle is going to do some kind of segment. And then Jurassic Express versus Bear Country. I'm guessing that's going to be the main event, even though it shouldn't be. So that's what's been that was what it was announced during this episode. Do you know if they announced anything online or anything like that?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So
I did like the little backstage moment with Jurassic Express where their whole, like, because Marco got like a King Kong tattoo basically, and
yeah, it was a cute
Luchasaurus is just like
comedy thing.
Dude, are you serious? And he just storms off all insulted. It was funny. It was good. I love comedy wrestling, right? So
he was like, "We're dinosaurs," and they did use like the kind of the artwork from the movie. So like Bear Country was King Kong, and obviously Jurassic Park was Godzilla.
Jurassic Express.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And I do just want to take this moment to say that movie was so freaking good, man.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. I was supposed to go see it and they sold out, so.
Okay, I won't spoil anything. I will just say that, like, Skull Island Kong and, like, this version of King Kong is immaculate. I love it. That's all I want to say.
Well, we get the main event. I predicted this, right? That this was going to be the main event. Arcade Anarchy.
It wasn't as stupid looking as I thought it was going to be at first, because I thought it was just going to be way less entertaining than what it looked. And I was like, oh shit, they like moved everything around. They got that big board out with the ticket sales with the weapons. I'm like, that's a funny joke. I like that. The whack-a-mole and the crane game, like we said, I was like, oh, they totally have a crane machine. Someone's going in there. Half right. And then we get a bunch of different arcade cabinets, and I tried to name out every game that I saw. I was like, oh, fuck, Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat. And I enjoyed it more than I thought I would as well, like the match itself.
I would say that there really was a lot of wrestling. This was a brawl. My, I guess for me, as like an old school wrestling fan, I was confused as to how to feel about this because it's part serious, part funny comedy. Like, so for me, it was hard to know how to feel. So like, it took me like a moment to kind of just be like, you know what? Some of it's serious, some of it's funny. Just go with whatever they're going for at the time. So it took me a little while to find the right way to look at this match. Uh, I didn't love this, but I didn't love anything building up to it. So I really wasn't that invested. And then things got interesting. Um, so at one point in time, you know, Miro's kind of just steamrolling everybody, and they're like crawling up the they're crawling outside.
I'm rewinding. I'm going to stuff before that.
All right.
First, we get the Legos out of the teddy bear, which at first I was like, why is there a teddy bear in his hands? I don't understand. Then Legos everywhere, and I love Tony Schiavone selling how killer Legos are. Going to the point of saying, if you stepped on a single Lego compared to a single thumbtack, I think the Lego would hurt more.
I also love that he called his children brats.
Yes. But like, yeah, man, I will say, Brandon Cutler did a spot on Peter Avalon on a pile of Dungeons and Dragon dice. Like, hopefully there are no 4-sided dice, because if you've ever seen those things are deadly. And that was way worse than Legos, guaranteed. But this was also like, oh man, Legos are nasty. But then we get my favorite spot of the entire night, of course, had to be this. Chris Statlander makes her big return, coming out of the crane game to attack Penelope. I could not stop laughing. I was also just really happy to see Chris Statlander was back.
Okay, did you catch what the crane game was called?
Alien Invader or Alien...
it was something aliens. Yeah. And I haven't been watching long enough to know this, except that I heard about it. And her character is an alien, I guess. So that was the joke. Huh?
She believes that she's an alien.
Okay, well, whatever. Like, yeah, so I thought it was funny. Gimmick. I thought it was kind of funny. And then she, when she hit through the air hockey table, that was a brutal bump, by the way.
Oh my god, I don't know what she hit.
She hit something. It was like some kind of powder. I don't know. But
yeah, she off the apron. She hit like a package pile driver, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I didn't even know but does Penelope wrestle from time to time?
Oh, Penelope wrestles, yeah, dude.
Okay, because this was a pretty big bomb.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Go look up go look her up on YouTube, and you will be terrified at some of the nasty stuff she's taken in GCW.
Okay, so this is like
this
is just like a Tuesday morning thing. Like, this is not like a big deal.
Pretty much. She hasn't done that kind of stuff in a while, but she has done it. Like, she has experience with glass.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So she's basically Mephisto, but just younger. Okay.
She's fine.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, then there eventually Miro runs the table, and for whatever reason, her baby faces are crawling away. I don't love that. I don't like the psychology of it. I get it.
A plan.
Yeah, but I hate the plan. And then there's like this
Miro over here.
Then there's a car approaching. I'm just kind of like, where is this going? Like, are we gonna like introduce like a third member of like Kip and Miro? Is like what is this? And it's just this old lady. Like, and I was like so confused. I was like, what is happening?
Haven't been watching AEW long enough for this. This is what this is. This is Trent's mom. Trent's mom, Sue.
No, I got it. The announcers like sold it like it was the biggest thing in the world, but all I see is an old lady, and then I see a grown man get out of like a van and stand heroically, and I'm just like, this is obviously not for me, because like my idea of like manliness is not being dropped off by your mom to a fight.
Well, no, but it's the point of like it doesn't matter how big and tough you are. I've seen 6'4" wrestlers have their moms bend them over for a kiss on the cheek. Okay, like it doesn't matter who you are, dude. It's your mom. But the thing is, Proud and Powerful had this big rivalry against the Best Friends last year, and they trashed the van. Like, they trashed Sue's van. They're like, you trashed Trent's mom's van. Yeah, he's like, yeah, man, that wasn't even my van. I borrowed my mom's van that day. And it just became a bit. So when they did the blow-off match between Proud and Powerful and Best Friends, they had Trent's mom drive them in her new van. And so now that Trent is back from injury, his mom dropped him off.
I guess I just don't get it. It's
comedy wrestling. It's dumb. It's comedy wrestling. It's dumb. That's exactly what it is. It's comedy wrestling.
What I did hear, which made me like throw my iPod across the room, is somebody said that Sue is more over than half the AEW roster, and I threw my iPod across the room.
I mean, look, people love it because it's stupid and campy, and it's funny. So yes, people on the internet love Sue because it's exactly the kind of thing that the internet would jump on. That doesn't mean that half of the AEW, that the entire fan base loves Sue more than they do half of the roster.
No,
I'm just saying,
I get like
great.
This kind of fits like their gimmick because it's like a big wink, and it's just so absurd that it's kind of like it's so anti-cool that it's kind of cool.
Which is the whole Best Friends gimmick, to be fair.
This is what I've learned is called normcore.
Okay. I've heard the term, yep.
So I get it, but for me, I was out on this match as soon as they did this spot. I'm like, listen, if the hero to save the day is dropped off by his mom, you've lost all credibility with me. So I was like, I'm like full Jim Cornette level, like fuck this match, fuck this TV show. like I was flipping out. Like I've calmed down, as you can tell. Like I swore I dropped the 2 F-bombs. Hopefully you censor those.
I won't.
Oh, damn it. I try not to swear. But like dude, this like killed my like love for this match. Like I was kind of enjoying it. I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of like a comedy version of like you know what I looked at this match as like it was like
a parking lot
it was a parody of the mid 1990s hardcore matches in WCW.
Oh, okay.
And it was like a loving letter to some of the ridiculousness that, like, okay, if you have a moment, if you can find it on that damn Peacock app that sucks, don't get me started.
Have that here.
But yeah, you still get the WWE Network for now, but eventually they're gonna transfer you over.
Yeah.
So if you have WWE Network, you can go and look it up. Okay. Look up Norma Smiley's hardcore title reign in WCW. Lots of comedy, okay? And that's what this reminded me of, okay? Because I remember watching that and getting a good kick out of it. But the difference, I guess, is I was 17 when I was watching that. I'm 37. So this was clearly not aimed at me. I get it. I'm the old guy. I'm the grumpy guy that says this sucks. It doesn't fit my sensibilities. Like I probably sound like JR. Like sassafras. I don't like this. Where's my wrestling? Okay. Like I get it, but like, dude, I didn't like it. This ruined the whole match for me. I know it's stupid. I know it's absurd.
I can understand that. Comedy wrestling isn't for everybody, especially not this kind of comedy wrestling. And here's the thing:
Colt Cabana. I like his stuff.
There's plenty of different kind of comedy wrestlers, and Colt Cabana is actually one of my when it comes to comedy wrestling. Colt Cabana is actually pretty weak tier compared to a lot of the people out there. Not like he doesn't do great. I mean, like he doesn't go hardcore comedy. Comedy wrestling is an amazing art in my mind because, wrestling, people are going to hate me. Wrestling is stupid in general. The entire concept, the entire art of like the idea of what we're doing putting on the show and the way we're doing it, like the we're scripting and telling stories, and like, guys, it's ridiculous. Give into that sometimes, and you get some of the craziest, most fun, over the top shit. And that's what this kind of stuff is for me. Like, I love Toru Yano in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Toru Yano won a match, but usually he wins tournament round matches by taping his opponents to the guardrails and stuff like that, so you can win by countout. Okay? This year, somebody tried to pull that trick on him and taped his hands around the ring apron. Around the ring post. So he huffs the guy in the balls, and then you see Yano like kicking his leg, trying to get his leg onto the friggin' apron, and then wiggles himself into the ring and wins by countout with his arm still taped around the ring post. And I couldn't stop laughing. But it's genius. I love that shit. It's stupid, but it's genius.
All right, so let me ask you a question since I hated this because of one moment. I know, I'm ridiculous. Do you feel like for you as a fan, like not only did you enjoy this match, but do you feel like it was really worth all the bad TV to get here?
No. I wasn't worth all the stupid build up to it, but I love the blow up feud because here's the thing: Best Friends do this really good. The parking lot brawl they had against Proud and Powerful was insanely good. This was really good, like quality, hardcore stupidity, and I loved it for what it was. I was excited to see Sue at the end only because I knew that meant Trent was back, pretty much. Seeing Sue was like a cool little, oh cool, we haven't seen Sue in a long time, it's fun. But no, I popped for Trent because I'm like, yeah, Trent's back too. Holy shit, we got Chris Statlander and Trent. They're both back. And I was excited for that. You know what I mean? Like having Sue was just a little like bonus, like, that's funny. And that makes sense to me.
So is like Trent like back, or is this just like a spot that he could do?
He put Miro through a table with a spear. And he got hit by a Mortal Kombat 2 arcade machine.
Yeah, but that was cardboard, basically.
Yeah. But, I mean, he took spots, and he actually wrestled did a couple little things. So I think he's cleared. I think he's fine. We'll see. Okay. I think he's cleared. I haven't heard anything. If anything, Statlander's the one I'm worried about, because that leg brace, they tried to hide it on camera. But that leg brace, that's a pretty big leg brace. And that looks nasty.
She's been out for, what, almost a year?
A year. She had knee surgery.
Yeah, so and I know she's been having some tryout matches and stuff like that to get ready for her return prior to this. But this is her on camera return. I would guess that they wouldn't bring it back unless she was able to go. But sometimes there's certain injuries that you're never quite the same.
Yeah. I mean, she might end up having, like, she already had a brace on that knee before. So she might just need, like, a different kind, a better, more support, right?
Yeah. I'm hoping that she can at least carry a few more years out on that. But usually once you start to have problems like that, it's kind of one of those things where you just keep suffering injury. That was Stone Cold. Like, yeah, I mean, he started out with like a little bit of a knee brace, and then it was like a whole full leg brace. Then there was both legs that were braced, and it was just, yeah, I mean, then it got so bad they had to start calling him the bionic rattlesnake. I mean, that's how bad it was. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where do you think the Best Friends go after this? Do you think like since Trent's back, do you think Orange kind of goes off on his own again?
I mean, I don't know, man. Orange Cassidy, like, he could do anything he wants at any moment. It doesn't matter. Coming from wherever. Like, seriously, like, the guy doesn't... His gimmick, title reigns don't make sense for him. If he's put in a title match, then he'll compete. But, like, people have to go out of their way to go after Orange Cassidy. Unless Orange Cassidy accidentally pisses somebody off by just, like, wandering around and being Orange Cassidy.
Which I think they should do to build like a feud, because like as my natural way of being, like I'm usually a bad guy. I think our personalities would clash and make a pretty good, interesting pair. Like I would go out of my way to kind of like start a fight. I'm a naturally confrontational person, anyways. But like I'm just kind of curious, like if because like it was so many people liked the moment where all four of them hugged. I'm kind of wondering if maybe they'll keep them together as kind of like this little stable for a little bit. But like prior to this, they kind of like knew each other, but Orange was kind of off on his own, and then like the best friends were like a tag team. Like they were kind of like slightly aligned. I don't know if they're getting.
The three of them have been a trio from the get-go. It's just Orange is Orange and just doesn't care about much.
Oh, okay.
Orange would like Orange would come out with them when they come out for their matches. He'd give the thumbs up and then he'd go back. He wouldn't stay at ringside for them.
Okay.
And like he wouldn't get them to. And at first, when he started wrestling, he wouldn't get them to stay at ringside. He'd give the thumbs up with them. They'd give him a hug with his hands in his pocket, and they would leave. It was one of those like, yeah, we're all friends. We all hang out. We're always hanging out together. Anyway. That's all it was.
Now the next question is more important.
Yeah.
Where do you go with Miro and Kip after this?
Oh, Miro's going to rip Kip's head off. Miro already warned him. You wanted this match, Kip. You better make sure we win it.
Okay, so do you think we get the breakup next week?
Yes.
Or do you think they drag this out?
No, we're getting into tonight's episode. Of when this goes up, we're getting tonight's episode. Like, yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you the next question. If that implodes, do you think we're at least going to get one match up with these two then?
Between Kip and Miro?
Yes.
We might. They might just throw it on Elevation.
Okay. In my opinion, after this is over...
What do you do with Kip? Or what do you do with Miro?
No, you fire Kip.
Okay.
But, okay, here's my problem. You have a heel as your world champion. So, like, what do you do with Miro? In my mind, the only thing you could really do is aim him at Darby.
Yeah.
And my problem is that belt feels so small for him.
It does.
But, listen, it's the only thing that really makes any sense right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, they've put themselves in a position where Omega can't lose right now. They just can't.
Well, I'm more thinking because they're both heels, but that's, again, old stuff.
They've proven that they'll do heel versus heel if the story's right. And which heel versus heel is a lot easier to do, in my opinion, than face versus face. Face versus face is the kiss of death.
I think
if you are given a match as a wrestler, and the booker looks at you and go, oh, this is a face versus face match, good freaking luck, man. He hates you.
that was my first ever match I ever did. Was a babyface versus baby. And then midway through the match, when the crowd was sitting on their hands, not sure what to do, the referee started talking to me in the middle of the match, telling me, hey guys, one of you got to go heel. And I looked at him and I said, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I'm already a babyface. I already established myself as a babyface the three previous shows. What do you want me to do? The other guy doesn't know how to work as a heel. So we're just gonna keep doing our match, and if people don't care, people don't care. It was so frustrating. And that's like the match I broke my wrist in. So like I didn't even like
if you're gonna do a face on face match, it has to be a really high work rate match.
It was not
Kazarian versus Cage.
Yeah. I'm not a high work rate guy. Even back then I wasn't. I know Kip probably disappears to be forever regulated on Dark and Elevation until they fire him. But like I'm gonna be interested to see like where Miro goes. In my opinion, they did enough damage with this ridiculousness that I do actually think like the TNT title isn't beneath him. I think that speaks volumes of how badly they booked him though, because I think when he came in, it was world title or bust. The fact that now he kind of feels like he's on that level isn't good.
I agree. Well, we're gonna wrap it up here for tonight, man. Go ahead, plug away your show one more time.
All right, guys. So we have all things non-WWE related here on Wrestle Geeks. We got you covered. But I happen to have taken it upon myself to go ahead and make sure you're completely covered on wrestling material by doing it over on DWB Podcast. It's available on iTunes and Spotify. You can find the links below. So that way you don't have to watch WWE. I'll tell you everything you need to know. And I'll spare you, 7 hours. There you go.
As for our schedule for this week, well, if you're wondering why our recap for Impact didn't go up, it's because Impact's not on Tuesdays anymore. Impact's on Thursdays now. So we have our Impact recap going up tomorrow on Thursday, then New Japan going up on Friday. We have another Impact recap going up on Saturday before Hardcore Justice. So lots of content coming up, and then the recap for Hardcore Justice will be next Thursday. Before that,
I say, I got Raw tonight, NXT Takeover Wednesday, NXT Takeover Thursday, Friday Night SmackDown, and then 2 WrestleManias. Eat that.
Yeah, I'm watching Bloodsport and a bunch of like GCW stuff instead. Anyway, everybody, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and have a good one.